So yeah, I got a lot of text messages when Oli got that hat trick, and it was good to see, because obviously he's a big talent. He was in some of my earlier squads. He sort of drifted a little bit over the last 5 years, but if he can find a home and settle down and play well week in, week out, then that'll be good for Oli.
In the comments, Keith Badger says, can't get a game for club, gets a call up, yet players on form can't get a call up. And I think that's that.
Is that a riddle?
So I was reading that out there. I thought, is that right? But I think he's just a bit got away with it, Badger. He's obviously he's mentioning the fact that Craig Gordon, 42 now, I think the only minutes he's played this season was in his testimonial.
Yeah.
He gets called up. Lawrence Shankland, 7 goals in 10 appearances. Can he get called up? And then it becomes even more confusing. Shankland, when he was going through that drought last season, was always in the squad. It just seems really odd.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to back Steve Clarke on this one for a couple of reasons. If it was you and your life depended upon it, and you had to pick a goalie for a game that your life was on the line, Daniel, you going with Zander Clark or you going with Craig Gordon?
Craig Gordon every day.
Well, you've answered your own question then, haven't you? Because Craig Gordon might probably still be at this point third choice at Hearts, behind Zander Clark, who would be second choice. But I can absolutely understand why Steve Clarke looks at it and thinks, I need experience. I need the safest pair of hands that I can bring onto the pitch for games of this magnitude, because let's not get away from it. And I think a lot of people have been a bit turned off by Scotland again for this period. A lot of people's eyes haven't really get fixed onto this World Cup campaign, how short it is, how much is at stake. This is a World Cup. And I'm hoping that people catch the bug a little bit at this next international break, because we've got 2 games back-to-back at Hampden. We've taken 4 points from our first 2. Good point against Denmark and Copenhagen. A kind of surreal night in Hungary when we beat Belarus. But 4 points on the road is better than par. If we can take 6 against the Greeks and against Belarus at Hampden, then wow, what a position we are going into the final double header in November. And this is a place at a World Cup. We've not been at a World Cup since France 98. There's people out there can't remember seeing. So there's in fact, 90% of Steve Clarke's squad can't remember France 98. Yeah, I was there. I know what this is about. So yeah, to get the thought of getting to another World Cup final with Scotland is immense, even if people right now are more bothered about what's going on in domestic matters and all this. This is monumental, and we've got a real opportunity. And I think the Greek game is going to be really difficult. We will beat Belarus. The Greek game is a key game, and if we can find a way of winning that one, then I think we're in an incredible position going into the final doubleheader. And by the way, the Greeks have got to play Denmark again in the second part of this doubleheader. So if we could beat Greece, Denmark have already beaten them in Athens, and then they've got to go to Copenhagen.
Yeah,
Greece could be eliminated from the whole process here.
Yeah.
So it really, I can't emphasise how important these matches are and how close we are to doing something incredibly spectacular. No Scotland manager has ever qualified a team for 3 tournaments. And that's where Steve Clarke is obviously, his focus is on that now. He's got a really talented bunch of players. I'm excited about it. But I do think that this Greece game means everything. And for that reason, am I happy that Craig Gordon's part of that squad? You bet.
Don't get me wrong, me too. I love Craig Gordon. I just thought with him not playing, it was a wee bit hard, difficult to understand. And just on
nobody's playing.
I know.
Playing.
That's a good point.
So you might as well have Craig Gordon, because you know that when he's thrown into these situations, you know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't see a problem. I do think there's an argument for Lawrence Shankland.
Well, yeah, I was going to come to that, Keith. We've got a lot of comments on that. Tom the Bomb, great name, by the way. Shankland should be first pick. Craigie says Shanks is Scotland's top scorer, should be first on the list. As I said, 7 in 10 games. We also did a poll on Record Sports Twitter page earlier on today, and I think it was a pretty resounding yes. 70% of people voted said that.
I'm no surprised because I'm not going to argue with that. I'm surprised that Lawrence Shankland's not in that squad. You know, even if you felt that you probably weren't going to play him, why wouldn't you have him there available as an option? It might well be. He's only named 22 players in this squad. Look, what's the chances all 22 are going to be fit and available by the time we get through, you know, another couple of games at club level? There's every chance that somebody else will need to get brought in. I think Steve Clarke was making the point. He took a larger squad away to Copenhagen and on to Hungary last time round because it's when you're away from home, it's easier to have the players travelling with you if you then need to rely upon them. Whereas while we're here, based for 2 games at Hampden, if you need to pull somebody in, then it's easier to do that. If there has to be changes, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Lawrence Shankland was one of them. If he did get a call up, but I totally accept. I do think it's curious, a curious omission. Lawrence Shankland back on fire, scoring goals, instinctive goals, like the one he scored against Falkirk at the weekend there. That's Lawrence Shankland when he's not even thinking about it. He's just doing. And that's when he's at his most dangerous and most lethal as a striker. I think when he went through an awkward run last season, there was a few facets of his game that just weren't clicking the way you would expect him to, and that probably for a variety of different reasons. But what you're seeing this season is Lawrence Shankland playing off the cuff, doing things instinctively, and that goal against Falkirk was a perfect illustration of that. So for me, yep, I'm surprised that Lawrence Shankland hasn't made that squad.